On the morning of September 20th, 1994, just a few kilometers from Tiananmen Square in Beijing, at Jianguomen, an army lieutenant armed with a rifle engaged in a fierce gun battle with over 1,000 police and soldiers from behind the grassy median in the middle of the road, using the street railing as cover. This is the Tian Mingjian incident that shocked the world. Welcome to Red Eastern True Crime. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to my channel. Let's dive into this story. Tian Mingjian was born in 1964 in a poor rural family in Xinjiang, Henan province. He joined the army at the age of 17. In China in the 1970s and 1980s, joining the military was a good option for young men from rural areas without connections. By becoming a party member and advancing during military service, there was a chance of promotion within the military. The transition to civilian life also offered the possibility of becoming a local official in a small town. After completing basic training, Tian achieved remarkable results in his first live-fire marksmanship assessment. While many new recruits struggled with their weapons, Tian scored a perfect 100 in 10 rounds. The instructors couldn't believe his performance and had him fire another 10 rounds, all of which were on target. After that, Tian displayed exceptional military skills and regularly received praise from his superiors. He was gradually promoted to the rank of lieutenant and even attended advanced training at the Xi'an Military Academy during his 13-year military career, which was a reward for those outstanding soldiers. Due to his distinguished performance, he was then assigned to the elite 3rd Guards of the Beijing garrison in Tongzhou district. Tian became famous in the military for his innovative method of single-handedly reloading a rifle during combat, although it was later discovered that this technique had been used before. He also developed a technique for simultaneously firing a rifle and handgun to meet the needs of close-quarters combat in special operations or urban warfare. As a result, Tian's company was recognized several times as an outstanding company. While in the military, Tian married a woman from his rural hometown, and they had a daughter. Influenced by traditional beliefs in rural areas, Tian preferred sons to daughters and hoped to have one in the future. He hoped that when he rose to the rank of battalion commander, he would be eligible to bring his wife and children from the countryside to the city to live with him, ending their long-distance separation. Tian had a tough and temperamental personality. He was harsh with his soldiers, often punishing and scolding them. He also took bribes from lower-ranking soldiers when they needed favors, such as promotions or assignments. However, once there was a soldier who bribed Tian and asked him for a favor, Tian failed to give that soldier good news later. This soldier exposed Tian, and Tian was demoted to the company, holding the position of deputy commander in charge of the company's administrative work. This greatly hindered Tian's career advancement and caused deep resentment. Afterwards, a soldier asked for leave to return home. Tian denied the request, which led to an argument with this soldier. The furious Tian beat the soldier, resulting in his suspension. The suspension increased tensions between Tian and the regimental political commissar. However, Tian stubbornly believed he was right and blamed the soldier for disobeying him. The regimental political commissar angrily said, "You are not fit for the military. You should pack your bags and leave the service." This hit a nerve with Tian, who, with no prospects for promotion, even began to worry about losing his job in the military. Because of Tian's bad behavior, the regimental political commissar ordered subordinates to secretly open and check Tian's mails. They discovered a carefully hidden secret. Tian's wife was 7 months pregnant, in violation of the country's one-child policy, as they already had a daughter. Tian's wife had pretended to be ill and stayed at home, cared for by Tian's parents. Neighbors and relatives were unaware of her pregnancy. Tian was very concerned about his wife and often wrote letters to check on her. The one-child policy was implemented in the early 1980s. To ensure strict enforcement, each region had officials in charge of birth control. There was also a system of collective punishment. If villagers violated the policy, the village chief would be punished. If the county exceeded its birth quota, the county chief would be criticized. After learning of Tian's situation, the regimental political commissar may have been concerned about how it would affect his own performance. As a result, he had his subordinate contact the birth control bureau in Tian's rural hometown. Upon receiving the message, the local birth control authorities forcibly took Tian's wife from her home to the hospital for a forced abortion. On September 19th, Tian received a phone call from his father. His father cried as he said, "There's been an accident. Your wife is dead. She bled a lot, and the baby died. It was a boy." Tian remained expressionless upon hearing this news, not shedding a single tear. At that moment, the demons within him were awakened. That evening, Tian had a drink with the guard at the military arsenal. While the guard got drunk, Tian took the opportunity to steal the keys. He then took out a Type 81 assault rifle and 6 magazines. This Chinese-made rifle is a knockoff of the AK-47, with each magazine holding 30 bullets, for a total of 180 bullets. Under the cover of darkness, he hid the rifle and bullets under a chair next to the reviewing stand on the drill ground. The table and chairs were all covered with cloth. On the morning of September 20th, the commanding officers conducted their routine morning inspection. Early in the morning, soldiers from several platoons marched and shouted slogans. The soldiers then lined up on the drill ground. The regimental political commissar and the chief of staff stood behind the reviewing stand and prepared to make speeches. Suddenly, Tian, who was standing on the left side of the reviewing stand, shouted, "Get down!" Many of the soldiers who were used to following orders immediately fell to the ground. Tian quickly retrieved the rifle hidden under the reviewing stand, deftly chambered a bullet, and began shooting at the regimental political commissar and the chief of staff. In a matter of seconds, all 4 officers on the reviewing stand were shot. The base descended into chaos. Soldiers were not allowed to carry weapons during non-live fire training, so no one could stop Tian. In the midst of the confusion and panic, Tian wounded 10 of his fellow soldiers before fleeing the base. Tian stopped a military jeep, but since he didn't know how to drive, he ordered the driver to head toward the center of Beijing as part of his plan to take revenge on both the military and society. At 7:20 a.m., when the jeep reached Jianguomen, a few kilometers from Tiananmen Square, it encountered a red light. Suddenly, the driver accelerated and crashed into a tree on the road, trying to escape. Tian immediately shot and killed the driver. Tian then jumped out of the jeep and began shooting indiscriminately at pedestrians, buses, cars, and buildings. The shooting took place just outside the diplomatic residence compound, in full view of many of the apartments there. A Canadian journalist noticed this and immediately began broadcasting the shooting live via satellite to a Canadian television station. The live feed was cut off a few minutes later. During the shooting, many foreign diplomats and their families were in the line of fire. Youssef Pishnari, a government secretary at the Iranian embassy, was driving his children to school when their car was hit by bullets. Pishnari and his 9-year-old son were killed instantly, and his other 2 children were wounded. A bus was also caught in the line of fire when the driver in panic stopped his vehicle, and many of the passengers were shot and wounded, some losing their lives. Thousands of police and military personnel soon rushed to the scene, but were overwhelmed by Tian. When one policeman tried to look out to assess the situation, Tian shot him through the helmet with a single bullet. Many of the soldiers who initially fought with him were hit, making it impossible for later troops to approach. Using his military training, Tian overpowered the police and soldiers. International media reports described him as, "He was calm, firing in bursts like a soldier in training. He did not act like a madman." He used his limited ammunition strategically, suppressing military and police firepower, with controlled bursts instead of spraying bullets. The Canadian journalist's camera captured his one-handed reloading technique. After a 3-hour standoff, Tian, who had run out of bullets, was killed by a sniper. Another version says that Tian, out of ammunition, tried to flee toward the Yabao Road Market, but was shot from behind by a sniper from the same unit that had entered the high-rise buildings in the embassy district. A third version is that Tian saved his last bullet for himself. The Tian incident resulted in 75 casualties, 25 of whom were killed, including 8 military or police personnel. The dead included an elderly man exercising in the park, a young boy riding on the back of his mother's bicycle, and at least one taxi passenger. The shooting also became an international and diplomatic issue. In Tehran, the Iranian Foreign Ministry summoned the Chinese ambassador and demanded an apology and an explanation. After the incident, the Central Military Commission and PLA brass investigated how one of their best-trained warriors had gone rogue. Several senior officers were demoted or disciplined for failing to stop Tian and for not acting quickly enough to prevent his escape from the base. Tian's unit, the 3rd Guards of the Beijing garrison, was collectively punished by being transferred to a remote border post. Orders were sent out to the entire PLA urging officers to better manage their weapons stockpiles and strengthen ideological work. When Tian escaped from the base, the soldiers had not yet removed their weapons from the armory. The military and police forces he faced had many weaknesses, such as unclear tactical plans, reliance on verbal commands, and lack of adaptability. Tian's strong military skills, tactical awareness, and vengeful actions led to this tragic event. Subsequently, to prevent similar incidents and due to a rise in violent armed robberies, authorities began confiscating firearms from the public. Gun control in China is now very strict. In 2015, the one-child policy, which had been in place for more than 30 years, was lifted, but the birth control planning policy remains in place. The current policy allows and even encourages people to have up to 3 children. Tian is definitely a narcissist and had characteristics of an antisocial personality. The loss of his wife and son was a great tragedy, not only for him, but for many at the time. However, he chose to seek revenge against his superiors, society, and the system in the most extreme way possible, resulting in many innocent victims. While there may be aspects of Tian that inspire sympathy, he is undeniably a murderous demon. His transformation from human to demon is truly thought-provoking. What do you think about this case? Please share your thoughts and opinions in the comments section. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe to my channel.